Hey everyone, today we are back with another video. Recently the Dark World structure deck came out, and this was a deck that I was kind of eyeing up for a bit. I wasn't playing the game when the original Dark World cards came out back in 2000, I think it was 2007 through 2012 with the release of the first Dark World structure deck, and the release of Grapha, but we have gotten a new wave of support with these pretty awesome cards, including this fusion monster right here, which we're going to go into in just a moment. But this is actually a budget profile. So before I picked up the deck, or three of these structure decks today, and I was kind of labbing with some ideas. And I thought before kind of going into a full, uh, real, I guess, Dark World deck where you include cards from outside the structure deck, I thought why not start the video basically making a video that is for people like me who are actually just picking up three of these for the first time. Now I know what some of these cards do. If you're looking at like this Grapha and you're like, hey, that doesn't look like the Grapha in the structure deck. Some of the cards in this profile are alternative rarities of some of the cards that I'd already owned before, and I wanted to include them in this video. But every single card that you're going to see in here was in the Dark World structure deck. You can take three of these structure decks and build this exact deck right here. Now this includes a main deck, an extra deck of, which I'll spoil it now, is only 3 monsters, and also a 15 card side deck. So theoretically, you could take this to a local tournament, or just do like a sealed tournament with your friends or whatever. These cards are incredible. I think they're super great. So let's get right into the deck profile. Now, to start things off, you probably saw it already, but we are playing 3 Grapha Dragon of Dark Lord. You can special summon this card from your graveyard by returning 1 Dark World monster you control to the hand, except himself. This is not an activated effect. You just go ahead and do it. So, which is great in a format right now with cards like Abyss Dweller running around. Basically, you can just summon him for free. He's a huge idiot. And then if this card is discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. Now, this is a mandatory effect, so depending on how your chain links are working, if you have this working in chain links, this will always work as chain link 1 for the targeting effect. And then if this card was discarded from your hand to your graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can look at one random card in your opponent's hand. Then if it was a monster, you can special summon it to your field. Now you're mostly going to be able to trigger that with cards like Cerulli or the new Fusion, actually, which is really, really powerful. And so I think he's absolutely a 3 of, even in probably the main version, also with like Bestials running around. The one thing with this deck is because it is full of dark monsters, that just immediately is targets for Bestials to banish it. So we're playing 3 of this. Next we have 3 of the new Rainbow Overking of Dark World. This card is absolutely amazing. He has a similar first effect, just like Grapha. You can special summon this card from your graveyard by returning 1 level 7 or lower Dark World monster you control to the hand. So he can't actually he can't return himself because he's level 8, but you can return anything else. Grapha can return this to hand, which is part of how you get some of your hand advantage going. If this card is discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add 1 level 5 or higher Dark World monster from your deck to your hand except Rainbow. So you can add cards like Grapha, you can add cards like Silva. I'm trying to think of, looking through just what I'm playing, but that's mainly what you're probably going to be adding. And then if this was discarded from your hand to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Dark World from your deck or graveyard to either field. So you could summon a card like Snow or Beige or Cerulli or even Genta, one of the new field spell searchers, or you can summon those to your field to combo off, or you can summon Cerulli to your opponent's field to trigger your Dark World cards, which is absolutely crazy. And again, this will trigger off of your Fusion Monster's negate effect, because the Fusion Monster changes a card effect that your opponent activates to discard 1 card from your opponent's hand. So that is just how you're going to get all of your Dark World cards going, effects going. Again, because of Bestials, we're playing 3 of these, and also this is just an incredible card. Next, we're playing 2 Silva, Warlord of the Dark World. Now, he is sort of like just a big beat stick if you're playing a more combo-centric version of this deck that actually has like Link monsters and maybe even rank 6 XYZs, you can play. This is like pretty optimal to play of him. But if he's discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon him, and then if it was discarded from the hand to your graveyard by opponent's card effect, your opponent places exactly 2 cards from their hand on the bottom of their deck in any order. So this is sort of how you can actually hand loop your opponent. These effects are not once per turn, so you can just keep looping the cards of their effects. Next, we're playing 3 Snow Unlit of the Dark World. This card is your searcher for anything. If it is discarded by a card effect, you can add 1 Dark World card from your deck to your hand. And then if it was discarded from your hand to the graveyard by opponent's card effect, you can target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, add 1 Dark World card from your deck to your hand, then special summon that target, if any, in defense position. But primarily, when you're discarding this off of the Gates of Dark World, you're just searching for any of your Dark World pieces. This is one of the older cards where the Dark World text on this is absolutely confusing. I was like just reading it now, and I was like, geez, I barely know what this means. Next, we're playing 3 Genta, Gateman of the Dark World. This is a new super from the structure deck. Basically, you can discard this card to search for 1 Gates of the Dark World from your deck to your hand. Sorry, I'm just going to fix how these are sitting right here. This is not a hard once per turn, so you can just keep, if you have multiple of these, you can keep searching for Gates of Dark World, and it's searching your, or it's fueling, sorry, your Gates of Dark World effect to banish a fiend from the grave, to discard a fiend from hand. When he's banished once per turn, you can special summon him from the banish pile. So you're sort of getting to combo off, probably in this version of the deck, if you use his effect and then activate Gates of Dark World, banishing him, you're probably using him to get maybe tribute fodder for something, or just to create a wall, but in a more, again, combo version of this deck that has links and everything, or XYZs, you're just probably going into those plays. Next, we're playing 2 Cerulli Guru of the Dark World. So this is the card where if it is discarded, you can special summon it to your opponent's field. If this card is discarded by a card effect, special summon this card to your opponent's field in defense position. And then if this is special summoned by the effect of a Dark World card, your opponent discards 1 card. So if you special summon it somehow to your field by a Dark World card, it will, your opponent does get to discard a card from their hand. But you're mainly discarding or wanting to summon this to your opponent's field so that you can trigger your Grapha, your Rainbow, your just your Silva, just to do kind of crazy stuff. Because of Bestials, we're playing 2 of him, and I think it's actually kind of fine at 2, you know, because you want to kind of like see him a bit, and you can just loop stuff out of your opponent's hand. Next, we're playing 3 Brow, Huntsman of the Dark World. If this card is discarded by a card effect to the graveyard, you can draw 1 card. And then if he's discarded by your opponent's card effect, you can draw 2 instead. So overall, pretty good. Next, we're playing only 2 Beige, Vanguard of the Dark World. He's kind of just a body. If he's discarded by opponent's or by your card effect, you can special summon him from the graveyard. And that's actually all he really does. So that is it for the Dark World monsters. We're playing a pretty good amount of them, you know, because I wanted to try and get the deck up to 40. I think these are maybe the semi-optimal ratios of if you're trying to, again, just build this with 3 copies of the structure deck. Next, we're going to move on to some of the other cards that were in the structure deck. We have, for the monsters, we're playing 3 Danger Bigfoot. This guy is huge. So it's actually the dangers is how we're hoping to trigger a lot of our Dark World cards, if not for the spells or some of their own effects that allow us to discard cards. But basically any danger, reveal it, and then shuffle you can like shuffle your hand or roll a dice, and then your opponent randomly selects a card in your hand. If it is Danger Bigfoot, you can discard him, but otherwise you can special summon him to the field and draw a card. If this card is discarded by a card effect, you can target a card, I think it's a face-up card, on your opponent's field. Yes, it is. Target a face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it. So he's a way to out floodgates. He's a way to just a huge body with coming in at 3,000 attack and defense. In a more combo version, since he's a level 8 and Rainbow and Grapha are level 8s, you can go ahead into some rank 8 plays. Up next, we are playing 3 Danger Mothman. Now, normally, I wouldn't be playing 3 of these, maybe in like a more pure, or I guess, non-budget version of this deck. I would be playing 2, because you typically don't want to see a lot of him. He has the same effect of summoning himself, but if he's discarded, you can draw 1, discard 1, and that can just trigger your opponent's card effects, and also just, it's kind of stinks, you know, when he gets hit. It doesn't really do a lot for you. Next, we're playing 2 Danger Thunderbird. Again, kind of acting as just sort of a big boss monster. They have the same effect as all the dangers, obviously, and then if it is discarded by a card effect, you can target a set card your opponent controls, destroy it. Now, if the card is activated or anything, or flipped face up like a continuous tramp, it will not be destroyed. And then to round up the monsters, we're playing 1 Danger Tsuchinoko. Again, same effect as all the dangers, and then if he's discarded, you just summon him. Onto the spells, we're playing 3 The Gates of the Dark Lord. This is our field spell. You can banish 1 fiend from the graveyard, discard 1 fiend to draw 1 card, and also all fiend monsters gain 300 attack and defense. Not a once per turn at all, so if you have multiple of these and enough gas in your hand to go through it, you can just keep bouncing or popping off. Next, we are playing 2 Dark World Archives. This is a new continuous spell from the structure deck. During your main phase, you can discard 1 Dark World monster, and if you do, Dark World monsters you currently control gain attack equal to the level of the discarded monster had in the hand times 100 until the end of the turn. Again, you can only activate this first effect to trigger Dark World card effects if you control Dark World monster. If a monster whose original type is fiend is discarded from your hand by the effect of a Dark World card or an opponent's card effect, even during the damage step, you can discard 1 card, draw 2 cards. So pretty much this is just to help you dig through your deck with some draws and also just trigger stuff from the get-go. Next, we are playing 2 Dark World Puppetry. You can target up to 3 cards in either graveyard, banish them, then discard 1 fiend monster, and then during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 of your banished fiend monsters, and add to the hand. You can only activate 1 of these per turn. Now, because this is sort of our budget deck, and we don't have Bestials or anything to combat tier limits, this is our sort of out to tier limits turn 1. So we're playing 2 of these. These are searchable, and we're going to be able to use them to stop tier effects, stop, I guess, a sort of Keldo Midora, funny enough, the mirror, you can banish your opponent's Dark World cards, but this is sort of how we are able to are going to try and keep up with the metagame. Next, we have the new fusion spell, 2 Dark World Accession. This card is absolutely crazy, in my opinion. During the main phase, fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck. So you can actually, if you're playing this in tier limits, you can summon Kaleido Heart. If you're playing this in Despia, you can summon Masquerade. In this instance, you can summon the new fusion monster by banishing materials mentioned on it from your field or graveyard. If fusion summoning a Dark World monster this way, you can also discard monsters as materials. This will trigger their effects, which is such great. This, honestly, this card right here is probably what made them all so good, being able to do that. During your main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand, then discard 1 Dark World monster. You can only use each effect once per turn. So, incredible effects. This is how we're summoning our big fusion. And then, for the last card in the deck, we are playing 1 Dark World Punishment. When your opponent would special summon or normal summon a monster, you can negate the summon, and if you do, destroy that monster, then discard 1 fiend monster. If a Dark World monster that you control would be destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Instead, you can only use each effect once per turn. This is an okay card. I wouldn't be playing this in a main version of this deck, but we've kind of just got it here, as some form of going first. So that is it for the main deck. 40 cards. I always play 40 card lists, and I'm just gonna put everything together and catch my breath. So we're going to move on to the extra deck, which, again, only 3 cards, and they are Grapha Dragon Overlord of the Dark World. Now, this card is super easy to summon in this deck with the Quick Play spell. Its materials are Grapha Dragon Lord of the Dark World plus 1 Dark Monster. When your opponent activates a monster effect or a normal spell trap card while you have cards in your hand, quick effect, you can activate this card. The activated effect becomes your opponent discards 1 card. You can only use this effect of Grapha Dragon Overlord of Dark World once per turn. If this fusion summoned card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special 1 of your Grapha Dragon Lord of the Dark Worlds that is banished or in your graveyard. Then each player discards with a hand discards 1 card. So super great, super big boss, super easy to summon. You want to see him as much as possible. Honestly, this is probably going to see play, I think, in tier elements, because you can use some super secret spice, which maybe I'll tell you all about later when I make a video of my tier limit deck profile um, on summoning this. Unless you already know how to do that, but stay tuned to that video. But yeah, we play 3 of these. This is the only extra deck monster in the structure. If you do have access to other extra deck cards and you're picking up this structure deck, I very much recommend any generic links like IP Masquerena, the Nightmares, Appaloosa, Access Code if you have the budget, Skull Dread. Super great cards to use in this deck. And then basically any rank 4 or rank 8, in my opinion, I think is really good in this deck. All right, so I did say that we have a side deck for this. So the main deck is pretty much combo heavy. The side deck is all about control. We are playing 3 Lilith, Lady of Lament. When this card is normal summoned, its original attack becomes 1000, and then quick effect, you contribute 1 monster to select 3 normal traps from your deck. Your opponent randomly chooses 1, and then you can set it to your field. So we're playing a lot of normal traps in the side deck, and that's sort of going to be how we are able to go first and have a strategy post-siding. Okay, and with the rest of the side deck, like I said, all normal traps with the exception of few, we're playing 3 Mind Crush. This card is usually good to stop cards like Evenly Match if you know they're going to the battle phase to try and wipe your field, or if you know your opponent has added something. But since we're in a format like Tier Limits, where cards have effects when they hit the graveyard, this card is sort of, in my opinion, a bit mid-range. But the great thing about this card is that, well, to activate it, you have to have cards in your hand. And then if you declare something and it isn't what if it isn't the correct card, you discard 1 random card from your hand. The great thing about this can trigger your Grapha and all your other effects, so you can do stuff on your opponent's turn, which is super great. Next, we're playing 3 Deck Devastation Virus. This card is great actually against Sprite and Floowandereeze, which Floowandereeze is said to be the second best deck of the format, considering even if in a tier 0 format, this card is absolutely great. We can tutor this out with Lilith. We contribute our Grapha, our Bigfoot, just literally everything in our deck has attack to make this work. All you have to do is tribute a dark monster with at least 2000 attack, and for the next 3 turns, any monster with attack less than 1500 is destroyed for the next 3 turns. Next, we're playing 3 Paleozone Dynamiscus. Honestly, before the ban list with Mystic Mine getting banned, and we knew that this was in it, I honestly thought that this was a great addition to this structure deck, because this is sort of actually our main spell drop removal that isn't monsters. But since Mystic Mine is banned now, this is just overall a great card. Being able to banish a Reinoheart or a Rulu Kalos, any just main huge problem, is absolutely great. And then on resolution, being able to trigger a Dark World card, incredible. And then to round out the last 3 cards in the side deck, we are playing 3 Skill Drain. These were included in the structure deck. A great reprint, even though we just got it in Magnificent Mavens. All face-up monsters on the field have their effects negated, and at the cost of you paying 1000. They still can activate, they're just negated. This card is getting good against Floowandereeze. Sprite, funny enough, it's pretty good against, but overall, this is going to be some great tech. There are a bunch of other cards in the structure deck that you could probably check out in, like, looking at the back of the structure deck, or looking at someone else's profile. So I'm curious, how different other people's like budget structure decks of this are. But this is kind of what I thought would be sort of the what I would play if I had to take 3 of these to a tournament. Overall, I think that this is an incredible structure deck. I think it has some great value. I'm not sure really how much of a competitive impact it will have on the metagame. Honestly, I hope it does, because I think these cards are super duper awesome, and I hope they will get to see some play too. Like I said, I think this is definitely going to see some play in Tier Elements. Let me know in the comments if you know actually what the spice is with this. I'm curious to see how many people know about that. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know if you want to see an actual profile of like a more constructed version of this deck. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all later. Peace.